Thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Nicole Hernandez. Mark is off tonight. Let's get started. Tonight we start with a new development in a local story that made national headlines. The Coeur d'Alene City Prosecutor's Office decided not to charge the teenager accused of yelling racial slurs at the Utah women's basketball team. Now, 2 months ago, if you remember, the team called police saying someone yelled racial slurs at them while in Coeur d'Alene for the March Madness tournament. The team was so upset, the NCAA moved them from their hotel in Coeur d'Alene to a hotel in Spokane. In the days after we talked to the Coeur d'Alene NAACP, they said North Idaho has not done enough to combat racial bias.
The racial bias is so intense. None of the organizations that say they stand for civil rights in our community will even collaborate with me or my organization.
Now, tonight, the prosecutor's office explained their decision not to prosecute in a 6-page document, which I actually read through this evening. The deputy city attorney says after weeks of investigating, there's not enough evidence to charge anyone in this case. He started by outlining what police found while investigating. They say there was some surveillance video of a few trucks driving by loudly, but not of anyone yelling the N-word on their walk to dinner that night. The reports say there were 5 people who saw it happen, but they couldn't give enough of a description for police to find the person. After dinner, though, police found video of a car driving by the team yelling racial slurs and sexual comments. The team's coach talked about what happened in a press conference back in March.
No one knew how to handle it, and it was really upsetting. And for our players and staff to not feel safe in an NCAA tournament environment, it's messed up.
Police figured out the person who yelled those slurs was an 18-year-old Post Falls high school student, Anthony Myers. From there, police looked into 3 potential charges for Myers: disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct, and malicious harassment. Prosecutors say malicious harassment has to have a, quote, intent to intimidate. According to investigators, Myers and the other people in the car say they were just trying to be funny. The city prosecutor says while it is, quote, absurd to think something like that is funny, it doesn't show that malintent. Plus, they say there was no believable threat of physical harm or property damage. As for the other 2 charges, the prosecutor says it comes down to speech versus conduct. They say Myers actually yelling out or revving an engine isn't loud or unusual on a busy street. The prosecutor says free speech makes it so they can't actually talk about what Myers said, so he says there's no chance of convincing a jury just yelling out the car window is tumultuous or offensive. In the end, the statement says the prosecutor's office is also upset and condemns speech like this, but is not going to criminally prosecute Myers.
Faithfully discharge
all the duties of police chief
all the duties of police chief
of Moscow, Idaho,
Moscow, Idaho.
according to the best of my ability.
Well, it's officially the start of a new era for the Moscow Police Department. New tonight, the Moscow City Council swore in Anthony Dollinger as its new police chief. Dollinger is taking over after Chief James Fry retired. He's been with the Moscow Police Department for more than 12 years now, even serving as a captain. Now to our night beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. First up, No Lie Brewhouse is suing Red Hook Brewery for using their trademark Big Juicy name. You've probably heard of it. Well, when you look at Red Hook's homepage, this is what pops up. They're promoting their newest beer, the Big Juicy Ballard. No Lie says Red Hook actually bought kegs of the No Lie Big Juicy beer, which you're seeing here from court documents, and were promoting it on social media. So the owners went to visit Red Hook.
So we showed up, we said, John went up to the counter and said, I'd like to have a No Lie Big Juicy. They're like, we don't have that. And he's like, well, it was just on your social media that we could come in and get one. And they're like, no, but we have a better Big Juicy. It's our Big Juicy.
So you want to feel like a quick,
yeah.
a quick hit of pain. You feel that.
Yeah.
No Lie says this infringes on their trademark of the Big Juicy name. They say they first filed for the trademark back in 2015. Then in 2023, the U.S. Trademark Office gave them the incontestable trademark for the brand. The owners say they don't want customers to be confused. We also reached out to Red Hook and have not heard back yet. Spokane City officials started swapping out some parking meters for newer ones. The city is replacing the 200 dual space meters that they brought in just last year with now 400 single space meters. The city purchased about 900 of the single space meters. City officials think that moving to single space meters in the core of downtown will kind of help streamline the current parking space reservation process. During the replacement process on blocks with active installation, parking customers will not face any tickets for lack of payment, but all other parking rules will still apply. The process is expected to last about 2 weeks. And Moses Lake PD Sergeant Adam Monroe is recovering tonight. They say a 37-year-old Zachary Stockton allegedly shot him in the foot on Saturday night at the Motel 6 in Moses Lake. Police say they shot back at Stockton, so he was also hurt, but both of them should be okay. The department says Officer Todd Taylor was also part of the situation but did not get hurt. The alleged shooter, Stockton, is now booked into the Grant County Jail and police are investigating. That was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of those stories, you can head to our website, KREM.com. Now we want to take a break from the headlines and check on the forecast with our chief meteorologist, Jeremy Legoo. Jeremy, I was out at No Lie earlier today and it started pouring rain. I'm kind of over it. How much longer do we have to deal with it?
I think that's the worst of it and kind of the end of it as well. Things are drying out quite nicely. We will see a little round of showers up in the mountains tomorrow, but that is it. We sit at 46 degrees right now, but don't expect to cool down too much more. A little bit of lingering cloud cover, a little wind, and a tiny bit of atmospheric moisture means we fall down into the upper 30s or low 40s, depending on where you are, but shouldn't get too much colder. There's the moisture. It's not much. A little bit of radar feedback at this point, other than North Idaho, is about where we stand. Overnight, we'll clear things out. Tomorrow morning, we'll see a round of light moisture in some parts of the region. Most of that stays up in the mountains. Tomorrow afternoon, a little bit of cloud cover builds. Some of it holds moisture, but not overly widespread. Eventually, that moves out and we head into a much warmer, much drier weather pattern. Takes a couple days to turn that corner because we're doing so in such a big way. Near 60 tomorrow, mid 60s on Wednesday, and mid 70s under sunny skies by Thursday.
Well, the FAA started another investigation into Boeing, this time for allegedly falsifying documents while making the 787 Dreamliner. Boeing says a worker of theirs complained about misconduct in the plant, so they're actually the ones that called the FAA. The company says there aren't any safety concerns as of right now, but they do have big questions about production. The FAA says it is, quote, investigating whether Boeing completed the inspections and whether company employees may have falsified aircraft records, specifically on some of its planes. Boeing will re-inspect all 787 planes in the production system and create a plan to address the planes already in service.
The vehicle is not in a configuration where we can proceed with flight today.
In the meantime, Boeing had to cancel their first manned space flight. They say an oxygen valve was not working on their Starliner capsule, so they couldn't lift off. Successful flight eventually could help Boeing start catch up with their rival SpaceX. NASA crews could try again as soon as tomorrow night. And Boeing still has not come to an agreement with their firefighters. Today marked the firefighters' first workday since Boeing locked them out. Negotiations have stalled, though, with pay being that sticking point. The company says it's offering an average raise of $21,000 a year. The union, though, says starting pay is $52,000 a year, and they want a faster ramp up to average and higher pay rates.
When we don't have the wages to keep people here, they go for different opportunities. And that's what we're finding is we're having a lot of folks leaving to go to other fire departments.
The company did release a statement today saying it is committed to reaching an agreement and, quote, our contingency plan has placed highly qualified firefighters across our Puget Sound sites as we continue safe, uninterrupted operations, including production, delivery, and flight activity, end quote. In other news, Israel carried out strikes against Rafah as Hamas accepted a ceasefire proposal that Israel's war cabinet rejected. Israel had told as many as 100,000 civilians in Rafah to get to a safe zone before the Israeli army moves in with, quote, extreme force. Gazans celebrated in the streets after Hamas said it approved a proposal for a permanent ceasefire, a swap of hostages held by Hamas for Palestinians in Israeli jails, and allowing displaced Gazans to return home with no restrictions. Netanyahu's office said the proposal Hamas accepted was, quote, far from Israel's essential demands, but Israel said it would send negotiators to continue talks on a deal. And all of this happening on Holocaust Remembrance Day. People around the world, including at the Temple Beth Shalom in Spokane, paused to remember the 6 million Jews and millions of others killed by Nazi Germany. The Anti-Defamation League says Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism has risen since the war between Israel and Hamas started more than 6 months ago. And that was KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time. But don't go